So last week there was this crazy conflict between the Druze and the Bedouin in Syria. The Syrian government was involved, the Israeli government was involved. Like, we don't have time to get in too much depth for all the factions, right? We can't do a whole Jews versus Druze episode, but we should talk about this. Like, what the heck is going on in Syria? Why did these things flame up?
I think a little bit that I know of, or I'm aware of, that Syria is still not so much so in under the government's control. I would say Sharah's control. All right, it's the region that where the Druze are in my majority is the area that is bordering, I guess, Israel. Right, that's
Yep.
where the Druze are mostly, and there are. I don't know what caused the initial rift, what caused the initial conflict, what was, because it didn't happen like one day they woke up and like, hey, let's fight.
Yeah.
There was something boiling for a little while and then it erupted, and now there are two factions, like political or so international factions involved in
So,
it.
from what I understand, is that the Bedouin population in that region, Suwaida, I believe it's called,
Mm-hmm.
has been growing in the last 10 years with the war between Assad and the rest of the country, then the different factions. So they're like refugees there. And I believe what happened is that some Bedouins set up like a road checkpoint where they detained a Druze boy, like 18, 20 something guy, and tried to kind of get money from him, and then eventually like abducted him, and then later released him, which I think was the trigger point for all the current conflict. And so the Druze reacted against that, the Bedouin reacted against them, and everything just sort of went up in flames. And basically, because the Bedouins are Sunni and the central government is Sunni, I think the Druze see the Bedouins as allied with the central government. And so there's people who wear the government forces banner who are going into Druze settlements and like, killing people and like shaming people too.
Yeah,
There's
there's a lot of footage on that.
Yeah, so there's guys who are with big sort of Sunni beards in military uniform.
Was it a Sunni beard too?
Uh-huh. Well, yeah, okay. I say that because the Druze will have mustaches.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Right. And so when I say Sunni beard, I'm talking about like the big, Salafi kind of like bushy beard kind of thing, right?
What about Indonesian Muslims? They don't have
No, they don't have that.
It's joke part, yeah.
Yeah, but so it's like opposite facial styles, right? The sort of hardcore Sunnis in Syria have the big beard, no mustache, and the Druze have mustache, no beard.
Right.
They literally have opposite facial hair.
Right.
And there's footage of Sunni Muslims, soldiers, shaving the mustaches forcibly off these Syrian Druze guys and kind of like shaming them.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely got worse, from there. I remember watching the videos about them striking them and shaving them and everything else like that. And then like yesterday I opened up Instagram and I saw like in executions, I mean, usually there's like a little thing that says like don't watch this or a disclaimer or something like that, and that didn't happen. It just popped up and there were a bunch of them being forced to kneel on the ground, and then they just lit them up with their AKs and you could see the blood shooting everywhere, and it was horrible. So, it definitely got worse from just, like a
Yeah.
cultural conflict, right? Like about, beards, right? Like a way to shame people. It turned into murder.
I think one point I would make, and it's purely based on speculation and assumption, that there plays Islamophobic part too. All the videos that you're seeing is coming from one side, right? I don't know, you are being, because how the media works, that I don't need to go over like how algorithms work, which things are promoted and which were not. So I think that both sides are guilty in this, not just Sunni Muslims of Syria, Druze also. It's not one-ended persecution on those Druze people, that how dare you to be Druze. Of course, there is a rationale. Wherever there is minority, they are treated not equally. It is not just in Syria. Syria, given that I'll give Syria more cushion because they just recovered from such a violent civil war. But like given any country in the United States, are minorities protected? My question is that I'm not talking about Pakistan. Let me talk about some first world countries. Saudi Arabia, minorities are protected. UAE, minorities are protected. No, they're not. Nowhere is where minorities are 100% guaranteed equal rights. No, that's not true. So when we say that Druze are being persecuted heavily, I think that is an overstatement.
You know, also in Syria, the thing that complicates it is that the Druze were allied with Assad. So they fought for Assad when there was, you know, all of the fighting over Aleppo and everything happened, and there was an ISIS incursion into Syria. And I believe it was about like 2016, 2017, something like that. And the Druze were fighting with Assad against, you know, against the, I don't know, like the ISIS fighters, right?
Yes,
No, it was
anyone
crazy
that is
because
against
you know
government,
I was there in Israel, and I saw from a vantage point on one of the mountains where you could just see it. You see like this big valley, and then the guide that was with us was like, and you know, those are Assad, right? And you would see like mortar fire, like all this other stuff from this mountain, and then you would see like that's Assad, you know, that's Al Qaeda, that's ISIS, and these are the Druze, and the Druze were the closest to the border. And said, and they're all fighting each other, right? And the Druze are some of the Druze, not all of them, were aligned with Assad. So I can see like a lot of bad blood coming out of that, right? Like you fought for the old regime, like we don't trust you. You know, I can see where that would like take tensions in an already chaotic area.
Yep.
And inflame them. You know what I mean?
Yep. And then with a weak central government, essentially what this is like an intertribal conflict in some ways.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
You have, and Druze are certainly taking revenge. There's certainly been some massacres from the Druze as well. This isn't simply Muslims killing civilians thing, but it's almost like a gang war.
Yeah.
In some ways.
That's a perfect way of explaining it.
Right. It's like a gang war. Now, but there are some unanswered questions with this, because the natural affinity would be between the Sunni Bedouins and the Sunni central government. But there's no smoking gun that says clearly this is what Ahmed al-Shara wants.
Right.
Like, it's too soon to like write him off as being like, you know,
rationale.
Yeah. But this certainly doesn't look good, but it's not like a smoking gun either.
Yeah. And then I guess, you know, I think the element that I highlighted before is the element of Islamophobia. You know, whether we like it or not, it exists in the United States as I have seen it. And people in their actions, their posts on Facebook, there is things that are so stupid that I just want to laugh at, you know, just seeing them. So I think that plays in part too. But overall, I think it's just, as you mentioned, it's a gang war situation. That's it.
Okay, so there's two things here, right? There are some other ingredients. So yes, there is the element where people see Muslims doing things and they kind of jump to all these presuppositions. Also, there is a jihadi element in Syria too, right?
Yeah, that is everywhere in Muslim world.
But especially in Syria, like
and there has been for some time.
There has been for some time.
Yeah.
And Giuliani was at one point part of that. So the question we keep asking is, Giuliani still that on the inside? Or is he genuinely a reform man, right?
No, he was polished through the Western powers, and he was like baptized by Western powers to put in a position. Do you think that Giuliani came into power without the support of Western allies? No, of course not. Not just West, Saudi Arabia included. So it was consensus upon Giuliani coming to the throne. So
right. But also, he wouldn't be warriors without the jihadi support base either.
Yes.
right? So he has, so it's been a pillar of how he got to power in the first place, and the question that, again, I'm hoping that he really is somebody who's learned some things and is not that way anymore. But I'd bet money that one problem Syria has to deal with is there are still a lot of people in this mindset that are going to be very, very difficult to control. And actually, the more sensible Jelani gets, the harder it will become to control those people.
Right. That being said, I think Syria, we need to give time to Syria to recover. It's a patient that was on ventilator for so long, and now it's time for it to slowly recover. And I think Shara is a good option because he had that background, and it's now looking moderate with his suit and tie.
Yeah, I really hope that's the case. I really, really want that to be true. But I think we need to ask serious questions about it too.
Right.
I mean, the thing is, when you don't have a stable government, you can't have a stable culture. So, no matter what you say, these people who were once essentially jihadis, right, are now like, trying to reform the government. And I think that takes like several generations to kind of breed that out, like that,
Yep.
that takes time.
Yeah.
And I mean, you need sustained peace to be able to do that. And I think that's the challenge that they're always going to have, particularly over the next, say 50 years, right? Like, how do we get to a point of peace? How do we get, which is actually coming to a point of agreement? You know what I mean? So as long as there's, like, I mean, this idea, you talk about Islamophobia and prejudice. There's prejudice in Islam too, right? Between groups. I was just talking with my mother about this today. Like Muslims generally say, like I love those people because they're Muslims, right? But then you put them in a room together and they can't stand each other.
No, of course not.
So
Turks hate Arabs, Arabs hate Turks.
how is it? Oh my gosh, like there's a bunch of Syrian refugees in Turkey, and the mood there is, we don't want them here.
Right.
Go back to Syria, right?
Like Muslim brother.
You're Muslims. You're Muslims. We love you. We love you. Now get out. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I think it's going to be a challenge.
Everyone sort of hates Israel most of all, but then very close second is each other.
Right.